The little girl stood in the middle of the crowded charity hall with worn-out shoes, a faded dress, and tears filling her bright blue eyes. As cameras flashed around one of the country's most admired female CEOs, the child gently tugged her exhausted father's sleeve, pointed toward the elegant woman, and whispered words so innocent, so heartbreaking, that everyone close enough to hear froze in stunned silence. She quietly wished her father could marry that kind lady because then maybe he would smile again. Her father immediately looked away, ashamed that his daughter believed happiness belonged only to someone rich enough to rescue them, while the CEO unexpectedly heard every single word. If you believe kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances can still change lives, please take a moment to like this video, leave a heartfelt comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so our community can continue sharing stories that remind us compassion is stronger than despair. Colton Hayes had once believed that hard work could solve almost anything. He had spent years working as a skilled mechanic in a small American town, earning just enough to provide a modest but comfortable life for his wife and their daughter, Maren. Their little home was always filled with laughter, weekend picnics, homemade birthday cakes, and dreams about the future. Then life changed with terrifying speed. His wife lost her battle with a sudden illness, leaving Colton to raise 5-year-old Maren completely alone. Grief shattered him, but there was no time to fall apart. Every morning before sunrise he packed lunches, braided his daughter's hair as best as he could, washed clothes, hurried to work, and returned home exhausted, only to spend his evenings reading bedtime stories and pretending everything would somehow be all right. Then another disaster struck. The repair shop where Colton had worked for nearly 15 years closed without warning after its owner declared bankruptcy. Overnight, steady income disappeared. Colton accepted every temporary job he could find. He repaired fences, painted garages, carried construction materials, and even collected scrap metal during weekends. Despite working harder than ever, bills piled higher every month. Some afternoons he quietly skipped lunch so Maren could have fresh fruit in her school bag. He smiled through exhaustion because he never wanted his daughter to believe they were losing hope. Maren was far wiser than her years suggested. She noticed when her father claimed he wasn't hungry. She secretly counted the coins left in the kitchen jar before asking if she could have new shoes. She never complained about wearing second-hand clothes because she knew every dollar mattered. Instead of asking for expensive toys, she collected colorful leaves, painted smooth rocks, and created tiny gifts that always made Colton smile. One bright Saturday morning the city hosted a large community charity fair supporting families facing financial hardship. Local businesses donated food, clothing, school supplies, and children's activities. Colton almost refused to attend because accepting help bruised his pride, but Maren convinced him that spending the day together would be enough, even if they brought nothing home except happy memories. Among the event sponsors was a nationally respected business leader named Victoria Ellsworth. She had built one of the country's fastest-growing sustainable construction companies after starting with only a handful of employees years earlier. Newspapers admired her intelligence, determination, and generosity, but very few people knew she had spent her own childhood growing up in poverty after losing both parents at an early age. Every scholarship she funded, every community center she built, and every charity she supported came from memories she never forgot. Victoria arrived that afternoon surrounded by reporters, company staff, and event organizers. Cameras followed every step she took as she greeted volunteers, thanked donors, and spent time speaking with families. While many admired her elegant appearance and successful career, she cared far more about hearing people's stories than posing for photographs. As Colton and Maren quietly waited in line for free school supplies, Maren noticed Victoria kneeling beside another little boy, helping him tie his loose shoelaces without caring that photographers were watching. The kindness in that simple gesture captured the child's heart. Without thinking, Maren gently tugged her father's sleeve. Her innocent whisper changed everything. She softly wished her father could marry that beautiful lady because maybe then he would never have to look tired anymore. The words were barely louder than a breath. But Victoria heard them. Instead of feeling embarrassed or offended, her heart broke. She glanced toward Colton. His face had turned crimson with humiliation. He apologized immediately, trying to explain that children often spoke without understanding the world. Victoria simply smiled with kindness that instantly eased the tension. Rather than walking away, she asked if she could sit with them while children enjoyed a puppet show nearby. There were no reporters close enough to interrupt. No speeches. No publicity. Just three people sharing an ordinary conversation. Victoria learned that Colton wasn't asking for charity. He wasn't searching for someone to rescue him. He only wanted another chance to provide for his daughter with dignity. She admired how carefully he spoke about Marin. Every sentence revealed endless love. He never described sacrifice. He only described gratitude for being her father. Before leaving, Victoria handed him a business card. She explained that one of her company's maintenance divisions desperately needed experienced mechanics willing to train younger employees. She encouraged him to apply. Colton hesitated. He assumed someone as successful as Victoria had only spoken politely. Still, the following Monday he gathered every ounce of courage and submitted an application. The interview surprised him. Instead of focusing solely on qualifications, Victoria personally asked about teamwork, honesty, and resilience. She believed skills could be taught. Character could not. Within days Colton received an offer that nearly doubled his previous salary. For the first time in months he returned home carrying groceries without calculating every single item before reaching the checkout counter. Marin hugged him so tightly that he nearly lost his balance. Life slowly became brighter. Bills stopped piling up. The refrigerator stayed full. School supplies no longer required impossible decisions. Yet something even more meaningful began growing. Every few weeks Victoria visited different company locations, making time to speak with employees rather than remaining isolated in executive offices. She noticed Colton encouraging younger mechanics, staying late to help struggling co-workers, and refusing recognition for work that benefited everyone. Meanwhile, Marin occasionally visited company family events. Victoria never treated her like an employee's child. She remembered her birthday. She displayed Marin's drawings in her office. She attended the elementary school's community reading day after receiving a handwritten invitation decorated with colorful crayons. The friendship developed naturally. Months passed before either adult realized how important those ordinary moments had become. Still, Colton refused to imagine anything more. He believed people from completely different worlds could never truly belong together. Victoria, however, saw beyond appearances. She remembered childhood days when strangers looked at her worn clothes and decided she would never succeed. She recognized the same quiet resilience inside Colton. Some members of Victoria's executive board questioned why she spent so much time speaking with maintenance staff. Rumors spread. People whispered that she was becoming emotionally involved with an employee. Others warned Colton that relationships between wealthy executives and ordinary workers only existed in movies. The gossip reached both of them. Embarrassment created distance. They stopped sharing lunches during company events. Conversations became shorter. Marin sensed something had changed. One afternoon she quietly handed her father a folded drawing. It showed three people planting a tree together beneath bright sunshine. Above them she had carefully written, "Families grow when people help each other." Colton stared at the picture for several minutes. He realized fear had become stronger than hope. The following weekend the company organized volunteers to renovate an aging children's playground. Victoria worked alongside everyone else, wearing simple work clothes instead of expensive business attire. She painted benches. She carried lumber. She laughed with volunteers. Watching her spend hours under the afternoon sun beside ordinary families reminded Colton that true character revealed itself through actions rather than titles. During a short break he finally thanked her. Not only for the job. Not only for believing in him. He thanked her for treating him with respect when he had almost forgotten how that felt. Victoria admitted something she had never told anyone at work. When she first heard Marin's innocent wish months earlier, she didn't hear a little girl dreaming about wealth. She heard a child longing to see her father happy again. That difference had stayed with her ever since. Their friendship slowly returned, stronger than before because it rested on honesty rather than assumptions. Over the next year they spent more time together through volunteer projects, community events, school celebrations, and simple weekend picnics in public parks. Neither rushed. Neither pretended life had become perfect. They simply allowed trust to grow. Eventually Colton realized he looked forward to every conversation with Victoria more than he had ever expected. Victoria discovered that success meant very little unless there was someone with whom to celebrate ordinary afternoons. One sunny spring afternoon Colton invited Victoria and Marin to the botanical gardens where thousands of flowers covered the hillsides. There were no photographers. No company employees. No luxury. Only laughter echoing between colorful gardens. As butterflies drifted through the warm air, Marin wandered ahead collecting fallen flower petals. She suddenly turned around with the biggest smile on her face. Without saying a single word, she gently placed one small wildflower into Victoria's hand and another into her father's. Then she skipped away toward a fountain. Neither adult could stop smiling. Sometimes children understand hearts long before adults admit what they already know. Several months later Colton asked Victoria if she would spend the rest of her life beside him. He didn't promise luxury. She already had that. He promised loyalty, honesty, kindness, and a home where love would always matter more than success. Victoria answered with joyful tears. The wedding took place on a beautiful afternoon in the same community park where they had first truly spoken after the charity fair. Volunteers from the playground renovation built the decorations. Employees stood beside mechanics without titles separating them. Children filled the ceremony with laughter. When it came time to walk forward, Marin proudly carried a bouquet almost as large as herself. Everyone expected Victoria to shine that day. Instead, many guests couldn't stop watching Colton. The tired father who had once believed he had nothing left to offer now stood surrounded by people who loved and respected him. Years later the company continued growing, but Victoria often said its greatest success wasn't measured by profits. It was measured by opportunities created for families who simply needed someone to believe in them. Colton became director of apprenticeship programs, helping hundreds of unemployed workers rebuild their lives. He never forgot what it felt like to fear tomorrow. Marin grew into a compassionate young woman who volunteered at the same charity fair every year where her innocent whisper had changed 3 lives forever. Whenever children asked why she smiled so much, she always answered that hope sometimes begins with the smallest words spoken from the purest hearts. Before we reach the end of this story, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a meaningful comment telling us whether you believe kindness can truly change someone's future, or share a moment when one act of compassion made a difference in your own life. As the warm afternoon sun settled gently over the community park years later, Colton watched Victoria laughing beside Marin while children played across the freshly restored playground they had once helped rebuild together. He realized happiness had never arrived because someone wealthy rescued him. It arrived because someone looked beyond poverty and saw integrity, devotion, and a father whose greatest achievement had always been loving his daughter without conditions. And Marin understood something many adults spend a lifetime learning. The most beautiful people are not those with the biggest homes or the highest positions. They are the ones whose hearts make everyone around them feel safe, valued, and loved. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. May this story remind you that second chances often begin with compassion, true love recognizes character before circumstances, and sometimes the quiet hope of a child can transform lives in ways no one could have imagined.